Welcome. All right, we're back doing another SYP Live. My name is Ian McNaughton. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's greatly appreciated. We're doing this Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day, just after AEW Dynamite in Winnipeg. It actually ran a little bit shorter than I was expecting. Originally, when I had planned this, I was originally expecting like a 10-minute runtime after like the show's supposed to end, because usually the show ends at like 7 Pacific time. That's the time zone I'm in, and then usually they go long after that. But they kept it actually not too bad this time, which was great. Uh, Thank you, Tony Khan. Thank you, AEW, for not going too late here. Again, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the show, my name is Ian McNaughton. Thank you very much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. We're going to be discussing AEW Dynamite ahead of the AEW Dynasty pay-per-view that's coming to Vancouver on Sunday, April 12th. Tonight was the first of three shows that AEW is doing in Canada, basically in like early April. So because tonight they're in Winnipeg, they're filming Collision right now. Collision will be on tomorrow night, on Thursday. Next week, Wednesday, April 8th, they're going to be in Edmonton at Rogers Place doing Dynamite, and then Collision. I don't know if they officially said when Collision's going to be shown next week, if that's Saturday or Thursday or whatever. And then they're going to do the pay-per-view in Vancouver on the 12th. So that is really exciting. Can't wait for that. I'm going to be at the pay-per-view in Vancouver on the 12th. So that's going to be great. We got another official match made for the pay-per-view. We'll discuss that later on. But let's get into it. Let's discuss what was a pretty decent AEW show, if I do say so myself. The show started with Chris Jericho. He made his return to AEW. He's been off for, I think, about a year. I think his last match was in April 2025. And I'm a little skeptical of Chris Jericho coming back. I haven't really been a big fan of his recently in AEW. His matches have not been that good. His characters have not been that great. At least this time, his theme music was Judas. He walked out to Judas, which is created by his band Fozzy. So at least we had that going, which was nice. Appreciate that part of it. But yeah, I'm not sure. He didn't really say much, if anything. He essentially just got a loud crowd pop. He got to hug his presumably family, maybe some friends that were sitting in the front row at, what is it, Canada Life Center or Canada Place Center in Winnipeg. I know that it was in Winnipeg. I don't know what the actual name of the arena in Winnipeg is. It's Canada Place or Canada Life. It's kind of like when like Miami and Dallas were doing like American Airlines Arena and American Airlines Center. It's like one is one and one is the other. I just can't remember which one. Yeah, Canada Life Center. So Jericho came back, didn't really say much, didn't call anybody out. I think, just said he's happy to be in Winnipeg, happy to be back in AEW. So, I mean, I don't know what we're expecting, what's going to happen with Chris, with AEW going forward. Like, I'm assuming that he's going to be an active member. I'm assuming he's going to be wrestling. I'm assuming he's going to be showing up weekly, I would think. I don't know. I thought at least tonight it was just a good, kind of, cheap crowd pop. Chris is from Winnipeg. He has a lot of family and friends there. So it made a lot of sense for him to return tonight. I mean, and again, like, they're going to be in Canada for the next, I don't know, 10 days after this. Like, they're Vancouver's going to be on the 12th, and then they're going back to the States. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect with Chris Jericho going forward. It's unknown at this point. It's unclear. Who knows? Who could say? I don't think he's really going to be competing for a title. I don't think he should be. I think he's maybe a mid-card at best. Maybe he's doing some comedy wrestling. He's a pretty decent marketing guy. Like, he kind of knows, what works and what doesn't most of the time. I mean, last year with his, the learning tree bit, it was not that good. It was very stale and the wrestling was not that good. So if you at least have one, I guess, if you're going to, do wrestling and you're going to try and be a comedic wrestler, if you're going to do the comedy, you have to either be good at the comedy or the wrestling. And neither one was good last year. So maybe he's fixed that. But he comes out, gets his cheap pop. They all go back. And then it cuts in the show to Will Ospreay throwing John Moxley and then eventually Wheeler Yuta into some kegs backstage, which we'll talk about Will's match because he fought Pac, who is a part of the Death Riders, which Moxley kind of runs and Wheeler Yuta is a part of. So Will Ospreay got to throw people into kegs. That was kind of cool. And then it goes into our first real segment of the show, which is MJF and Kenny Omega signing their contract as they are going to be doing an AEW world title fight on Sunday, April 12th in Vancouver at Dynasty. Presumably that's going to be the main event, I would think. At this time, there isn't a bigger fight, but who knows? Things can change between now and then. It was again, they both signed a contract really quick, and then we got into the theatrics, shall we say, the mics and the talking, the promos, and all well and good. They each said some things. Speedball Mike Bailey runs in. He's helping Omega, who was, I guess, about to get attacked, and Speedball declares that he wants to have a match tonight with MJF in Winnipeg, and MJF gives it to him. He says, "All right, we'll do a match," which, like, sure, I guess it turned out to be a good match. Not to jump too far ahead. The MJF Mike Bailey match was pretty good. It was a eliminator match, so spoilers: MJF won. He beat Bailey. And it was fine. Like, it was a solid match. It was kind of to be expected. I think, it left the fans happy. They got to have Omega out again, out onto the floor. He was featured a ton in this show. Obviously, he's from Winnipeg, so he got a huge crowd pop, several different times. So he was all good. I thought the opening segment was fine. Gave us something to look forward to later on in the show. Similar to the Ospreay thing that happened before that, of like, okay, there's something to, keep you watching, keep you tuned in. Hey, what's going to happen with Ospreay and Mox? Hey, what's going to happen with MJF and Mike Bailey? So, solid stuff. Again, nothing really too extreme, nothing too major, but really, really good, really, very AEW. And their AEW, I think, is very proper. They know who they are. They know what they're trying to be. They know their brand, and they commit to the bit, which is AEW shtick. They commit to that really well. So that was good in the first few segments. They also mentioned like HIPAA like HIPAA violation, because MJF was talking about Kenny's, what do you want to call it, intestines. Maybe it's a little graphic, but like he was talking about his diverticulitis. Omega was talking about some of MJF stuff. I don't know if anybody in AEW knows this. HIPAA is not a thing in Canada. Like, I'm in Canada. HIPAA is not a thing. That's not there. There's another thing, but it's not HIPAA. It's like I'm going to say FWIPA or something. I don't know. But like HIPAA itself, the HIPAA, whatever, that's not a thing in Canada. So like, you guys technically can just say all that stuff here, because it's, or at least just if you're gonna say it in Canada, if you're gonna make a HIPAA thing, like, get the actual name of it right. Get the, I hate to be pedantic, but like, just get what it's actually called here right. So eventually this led to MJF using his old American hero shtick, which he used against Mike Bailey, which was kind of funny. I don't know. There is some Canada US like elements that were shown in the show, like MJF coming, having a big U.S. flag with all of his faces on it. He likes to bring that out every once in a while. That's pretty funny. I like that. Yeah, so it's not HIPAA. HIPAA's not a thing in Canada. You can use the other thing, but it's not HIPAA. It's one of my complaints. I don't know. So then we get into the trios match between the Demand versus Omega, Brody King, and Jack Perry, to which Omega pins Ricochet, who's part of the Demand. He leads the Demand. Omega pins Ricochet for the win, and I don't know. It was a solid match again, solid trios match. It just kind of felt kind of jumbled up, put together. Just again, you never know with these sort of matches of who's healthy, who can travel where. That's why AEW is not the best at let's say planning, because there's a lot of logistics that go into it. So yeah, they make it a little bit more difficult than they need to be. But regardless, we got a trios match. Everybody got to show off a little bit, including Brody, including Jack Perry, including Ricochet and Omega. Yeah, I don't know. It was a solid match. Willow Nightingale afterwards. They get her backstage. She declares an open challenge for the TBS title on Collision, which is they're recording Collision now. They're filming Collision, but they're going to show it tomorrow on TBS or TNT. TNT, I think. Yeah, so Willow Nightingale will get to fight somebody tomorrow in an open challenge. Cope and Christian then show up. They're going to take down anyone in their way, which then that's them walking into the arena, and Renee Paquette, who's the backstage. I don't know what her official title is, but backstage person, backstage interviewer, backstage reporter, maybe that's a good term. She's almost struck with a chair by Christian Cage. It's really funny. We're gonna take down anyone in our way, and Christian lifts the chair as if he's gonna hit her, and then Copeland's just no, not Renee, you idiot, you dumb idiot. Didn't actually say that, but I'm sure that's what he was thinking. To which that provides a good segment later on, where they're looking for FTR, because they're looking for FTR, because that's who they are fighting. I think at Dynasty, is it FTR or the Young Bucks? Let me just double check. Because they go into the locker room, and it was funny of some of the Don Callis family was there, but not trying to find it here. Yeah, not FTR. So FTR was not in their locker room, even though there's a sign. They think they found it, FTR, and then they go in. As it turned out, there was Don Callis family members there, which we don't know where FTR is. So they both decide that some of those Don Callis family members are in the way, and then they hit them with chairs, which I think that's funny. I think that's a good, hey, for anybody that's in the way, you just hit them with chairs. I think that's great. I think that's classic. I think that's some fun stuff that you can lean into this summer. Just classic wrestling comedy, face comedy right there. So Cope and Christian, they do their thing. The biggest match that was previewed or highlighted tonight, Will Ospreay taking on Pac, which Will Ospreay, as he's walking down, he takes I don't know, he takes a bump from Pac on the stage, as Ospreay's walking down. And then Ospreay is doing the whole shtick of selling his neck injury, because obviously Ospreay's coming back from his neck injury. They're oh, is he gonna wrestle? Is he gonna do it? He does wrestle. He did the thing. And then I don't know. They went 15 minutes today. They went for a good match, but every time Ospreay takes a bump, he has to sell that his neck is like completely screwed, completely messed up. And it just gets to a point of like, he's doing this every time. And I get it. I get that he's trying to sell this. I think you could just sell that you're Will Ospreay, dude. Like, I don't think you need to have the extra like thing. We know you're injured. We can see the tape. We understand that you're going through pain. You don't need to sell it every time, dude. Like you can just wrestle, and it's not a problem. Not an issue whatsoever. So, that match was actually pretty good. Like again, I guess that's what I'm frustrated with. It's that match was actually good. It would be better if Will wasn't selling an injury after every bump. Like it would be good if he was just not faking this, like, my neck for everything. Like, dude, you don't need to. It's just not necessary. Just don't have to do that. You're good. You're good enough as a wrestler as it is. You're Will Ospreay. You're one of the best in the world. So, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was good. I thought it could be better. But again, this is still just like the weekly show. Like this isn't the pay-per-view, so I'm not, not trying to get my hopes like too high. But I think there's still room to grow. And we know that Ospreay's fighting Moxley Sunday the 12th in Vancouver. So like we know that match is coming. I'm sure Will's trying to save some, whatever's in the tank for that. But yeah, I'm it was a great match for the TV show on Wednesday. If it was a pay-per-view, I think it would have been it wouldn't have been rated as highly as it probably should be. Yeah, Ospreay with a pin on Pac, and then the Death Riders attack Will afterwards. Moxley's like, "Hey man, you got to use your head," and Will Ospreay not really known for using his head. That's a thing. That's a real thing. I guess. Go Google it. Go Google it. Marina Shirakawa and the Brawling Birds, which is Alex Windsor and Jamie Hayter, they took on Tekla, who is the reigning AEW World Women's Champion, and then Tekla was with the Triangle of Madness, which is Sky Blue and Julia Hart for a trios match, which, again, good trios match. I'm not complaining. It was fine. It finish with Jamie Hayter pinning Julia Hart, so you didn't have Tekla or Shirakawa in the finish, which I feel like that's where it's going. I feel like Mina versus Tekla is where this women's title is going. Maybe they're doing something for Collision. Maybe they're doing something next week for Dynamite. I don't know, but that's presumably where the women's championship is going. But at least this kind of sets up a Jamie Hayter Julia Hart thing. That could be interesting. Not nothing. I thought the Brawling Birds were good. They're a fun little tag team. They I think are fairly new. Like they've maybe been doing it for a month. I don't know that they're going to be like a tag team champion anytime soon because Alex Windsor is still fairly new. She's a bit of a fresh face in the AEW, and I don't know that they want to give her that title right away, but we'll see. So yeah, that was the trios match. Again, two solid trios matches. Like I don't think trios matches, unless there's the trios title on the line, I think a trios match it's kind of meant to be a little bit like it's more meant to be when you see like the 8-man or the 10-man all-star tags. Tag team matches. Like I think that's what the trios matches serves, just with fewer people, if that makes sense. And again, both matches were fine. They served their purpose. They got people over. They got good crowd pops. Yeah, that's all well and good there. And then Darby Allin, he came out. This was the second to last segment on the show, I believe, because then the main event was MJF versus Speedball Mike Bailey. But Darby Allin comes out and he says, all this stuff of, Max He wants Maxwell Jacob Friedman, wants MJF to come out, face him man to man, give him his title shot, whatever. And out comes Don Callis and his family, or like 3 of his family members, 4 of his family members, whatever. And Darby Allin, pissed off. Don Callis is like, hey, MJF paid us a bunch of money to be out here. We're going to be out here and we're going to take you down. But he did leave a little nugget in that he said that if Darby Allin can beat Andrade, which Andrade was shocked that he mentioned Andrade. If Darby Allin can beat Andrade, he will get a future AEW World Championship title match. Andrade, shocked that he learned that right then and there that he's going to be fighting. And 2, presumably MJF is beating Kenny Omega at Dynasty on Sunday, April 12th. Presumably Darby Allin is beating Andrade at Dynasty on Sunday, April 12th. So I think you can kind of see where the breadcrumbs will lead, and that is eventually Darby Allin will be taking on MJF after this, which should be exciting, should be fun. Again, I actually, you know what, I will give a credit. I like that there wasn't a ton of the Don Callis family in this. As much as I wish Fletcher was on the show, Kyle Fletcher, or even though I believe Fletcher's injured, or Konosuke Takeshita, who I think he's in Japan right now, or Okada. As much as I wish any one of those guys were there, I appreciate that, Don's henchmen were there instead of a big star trying to go do the dirty work of taking out Darby Allin. Darby Allin, does his best to keep up with those guys to fight them off, but unfortunately he doesn't. And then Darby gets saved by Brody King and Jack Perry, who we saw earlier in the match. And then Kenny Omega walks down, try and help Darby, I guess. I don't know. They share a word. They have a short conversation, and then Darby walks off, and leaving Kenny and Brody and Jack all down at the ring. It goes to commercial with Kenny Omega high-fiving fans. The other 2 are in the ring, I guess. It was just weird. It was a weird sort of like, I don't know. It's cool that Kenny got to go down and was high-fiving fans, and they took time out of a commercial break to give him another pop. But like, I don't think that really serves that storyline unless we're going to be doing another big like 8-man tag with Darby Allin, and maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems weird. Just weird segment, especially your second to last, like kind of building to the end of the show, and it's like, yeah, I guess here's Kenny Omega, but this was Darby Allin versus Don Callis family, and we end it with Kenny Omega. It's just weird. It's kind of like trying to use your TV brain writing or your production writing brain of like, how does this make sense? And it seemed like a bit of a cheat, bit of a cop out to just be like, and here's Kenny Omega again. So, oh well. But yeah, Darby Allin will be facing Andrade at AEW Dynasty for the shot, for at least for Darby, at getting the AEW championship eventually against MJF. A future AEW title shot is in Darby Allin's near future, I guess you want. I don't know. He might get a shot at the title if he wins. That's how you put it. Yeah, and then finally main event with Speedball Mike Bailey taking on MJF. Good match, solid match. MJF doing his American shtick. He's the greatest American hero. They fly the American flag with 50 of his faces as the stars on it. It's listen, if he wants heel heat, that's a great way to get heel heat in Canada. I'll tell you that much. He knows what he's doing. So the match was good. It was an eliminator match, so if Speedball won, he would have got a shot at the AEW championship in a future match with MJF. He did not win. MJF won. So one less person for MJF to have to worry about. all tuning up for him to go, defend his belt against Omega at Dynasty. And yeah, it was, again, good match. The crowd was into it. I will say the kudos to the Winnipeg faithful. I don't know how many people were there tonight. It doesn't really matter. The crowd was good. They were chanting all night. They seemed into it. They seemed like they give a shit. So kudos to, again, Winnipeg faithful. Eventually, again, MJF won. He beat Speedball Mike Bailey. After the match, MJF attacked Speedball. Kenny Omega, who was doing announcing during the match, he took the headset off, went to go, attack MJF, save Speedball. MJF runs out, and all was good. Omega protected his guy. MJF got his belt. He skedaddled, and that was the pretty much end of the show. They had some medical people looking out after Speedball, which I'm assuming was just part of the show. I don't think Speedball is actually hurt, but I guess we'll find out. AEW is usually, good if it's serious of putting that out there and letting people know. So yeah, that was the show. That was AEW Dynamite in Winnipeg. It ends with Kenny Omega, Speedball Mike Bailey raising hands, 2 Canadians, Omega being the local guy from Winnipeg, and that was the show. That was Dynamite. Again, they're just recording Collision probably right as we're recording this, as we're live. They're gonna show it tomorrow. So yeah, that's essentially what AEW brought for us on this Wednesday night. We got a couple more shows between, again, a Collision tomorrow, Dynamite next Wednesday, a Collision sometime next week. It's the go home show before Vancouver and Dynasty. And I thought AEW, did well. I thought they kind of choked up on the bat, maybe got a double. Like, I thought they did a great job. Again, you have to consider the logistics of like who's all healthy, who's all can get to Winnipeg, who can all be there. Like, it's not the easiest place to get to. I can make a joke about them not having an airport, but I know that's kind of mean to people in Winnipeg. But I think all in all, it was a solid show. Like, I think it kept people, it kept people interested. There were a few lulls, obviously, in some of the wrestling matches, which that happens. Like, that's just part of, a 2-hour show, is that you are going to get lulls, and sometimes that comes into wrestling. And, that's also when they throw in the, picture in picture or the commercial breaks. Like, they do a pretty good job of managing all that. But overall, I thought AEW had a really good show. I thought your winners tonight, again, Kenny Omega looked really good. They're trying to push him as potentially beating MJF before Dynasty. Speedball, even though he lost, he looked really, really sharp in his performance against MJF. Obviously, I thought Cope and Christian Cage were solid. And if Christian Cage and Copeland are doing that all summer, if they're just, finding people in the way and hitting them with chairs, I think that's great. I think you can do something with that. You can run with that. They don't necessarily need the title. They could be chasing the title, but they don't necessarily need the title. I thought the Will Ospreay thing was not as good as I was expecting. It was not as good as I was hoping for, I guess, with Will, because I love Will. He's one of my favorites. I love how he wrestles. I love his matches with Fletcher. Love his matches with Takeshita. Like, I love some of his earlier matches. He had a great one with Pac at All Out in Chicago not that long ago. So he's obviously a talented wrestler. I just wish he wasn't doing the injury cells, because I just don't think it adds much. Like, I think it doesn't. That feels fake, I guess, if that makes sense. And like, I understand wrestling in itself, it's fake. It like, there's like, once you get past all of the stuff, then you can actually appreciate it. I understand all of this is kind of ridiculous to begin with, but Like, you don't need to just keep like grabbing your neck after everything. Like, it's just not necessary, dude. And that's probably the angle he's going with. That's probably what they're pushing. Fair enough. I would love to just see him wrestle as it is. I'd love to see, I'd love to see him wrestle at 100%, because maybe there's a chance he's not wrestling at 100%. He just feels the need to come back. That's a possibility. But yeah, and I feel bad for Darby Allin a little bit. I thought that was kind of supposed to be a Darby Allin segment with him and the Don Callis family, and I feel like it kind of got, let's say, hijacked, shall you say, by Kenny Omega. And I get it. It's Omega. He's gone through a lot health-wise. He's back in his hometown. He might not be back. AEW might not be back in Winnipeg for a while. Omega might not be back wrestling in Winnipeg for a while. So I understand trying to give him a push, especially with the pay-per-view coming up. But I really just wish Darby got either his own spotlight, or, maybe they just do it on Collision. Like, they just didn't need Omega. And I understand Brody King and Jack Perry trying to save Darby Allin, so he's, not getting attacked by the Don Callis family. I totally understand that. I really just wish there was a better way to go about that, because I think Darby got a little screwed at the end there. But that's just me, and that's, what are you going to do? There's another show next week. They'll do something better, hopefully. I am excited, though, to see Darby Allin in Vancouver. The last time I saw Darby, he was in Everett. When I was in Everett, I went to Dynamite there, and he didn't wrestle, but he was like under the ring, and then he popped out and he like had a huge pop, which was sick. But like the match I saw him wrestle before that was at Wrestle Dream at Climate Pledge, in his 2 out of 3 falls match with Christian Cage. That was an insane match. So I'm excited to see Darby in person. I'm curious to see what a Darby Andrade match looks like. If there's a stipulation outside of Darby winning, he gets a future title shot. I wonder if there's more to it, but who knows? Darby's his own wrestler. Like, there's nobody else who's doing Darby Allin things right now. So again, anything can happen. Should be a good match. I'm excited to watch that. Yeah, I'm curious to see with Mina and Tekla. I'm assuming that's where they're going to go for the women's title on Dynasty for the pay-per-view. I'm assuming that's where that's going. I'm assuming Willow is gonna fight somebody as well. You would think. AEW does a really good job with their pay-per-views. Like, that's some of the best television entertainment you'll see is an AEW pay-per-view. And usually they get like 12, like usually 12 or 13 fights, I'll say, if you include pre-show. So I don't know what they're going to do this time around. Again, we're about 10 days out, and we only have 4 matches announced, which, again, that's MJF, Kenny Omega. That is Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. That's Cope and Christian Cage versus FTR for the World Tag Team Championship. And now we have Darby Allin and Andrade. So, yeah, it's slowly but surely coming together. I'm sure we'll have more matches announced tomorrow after Collision, but we'll see how it goes. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. And that was essentially AEW Dynamite tonight from Winnipeg. We'll see if Chris Jericho makes another return, either in Collision tomorrow or Dynamite next week in Edmonton. Lots to discuss. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll do another one of like these live streams, which I liked. I enjoyed. I hope you did too. Thank you very much to everybody who tuned in. It was good, good chat, good hang. We'll be back hopefully with a podcast this week. I think that's the goal. Maybe do a live next week, Wednesday, from after AEW in Edmonton. And then we'll have some content, hopefully, from AEW Dynasty in Vancouver. So we got a little bit of AEW wrestling content coming up. So can't wait to do that. That concludes my post AEW Dynamite Winnipeg live stream. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Any support is greatly appreciated. You can follow us on Instagram at SYPPod. You can follow myself. Again, my name is Ian McNaughton. You can follow myself on Instagram at Ian McNaughton. You can check out the podcast, the Speak Your Piece podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And we do some of these live streams every once in a while. So again, subscribe to the channel. Look at our social for more content. We can't wait to chat again with you soon. Thank you again for all your love and support. It's greatly appreciated. And we'll chat again soon. Peace out.